Hi, how's it going? We were here last month and we're here again, and appreciate coming out here. And I got a couple of props here. I can let you look at those while the cat is out of the bag there. I'm speaking about my favorite topic, coffee. And bets are out to see, can I make a sermon and actually have spiritual, edifying stuff out of coffee? We'll let you ponder that for a moment. I'll put the tagline there that says, does your spiritual life need Java? It's kind of a cute line. Bob, my last sermon, he said the 4 points of atonement. Well, that doesn't leave me, do I really want to see that? You got to have a catchy tagline. So I've been working on trying to get this, selling the gospel or something, or, these little taglines. So there's our tagline. Here's a book, actually, that I looked on the internet. I found Spiritual Java. So I thought, I'm actually onto something. If someone wrote a book about spiritual coffee, maybe there's a sermon or edifying stuff in there. I haven't read the book, but that looks very interesting. I thought that was kind of neat. So I have to confess, I love coffee. It's really, I don't know why I love coffee, but I really love coffee. My dad loved coffee. My mom loved coffee. I love coffee. My siblings don't drink coffee. And Jacob loved coffee. So it seems like it's a male trait that's just kind of going through, because my dad loved it. And here's actually a cup that I got from my mom when we were divvying up some of her stuff called Coffee Break. And it's, obviously very older than me, I think. But the idea is, that there's Coffee Break. And it's even, when they had the time and they hand-painted stuff. So that's, I won't drink coffee from that, but I'll definitely use it as a prop. And I have it in my little cupboard to remind me of it. So there's Coffee Break. Why do I like coffee? Number one, it's relaxing. You just sit down and have a coffee, and you can just rest. Even when at home and Jacob's running around, and I said, I just want to have a coffee. Just let me alone. Just my coffee's done, then I can do other stuff. I can, fix the garage or mow the lawn or do something. But my coffee time, no, that's relaxing, right? It's a soothing drink. We drink. And I must mention that if you guys don't like coffee, substitute it for tea, for hot chocolate, for herb tea, even apple cider. Just imagine, go with me on this topic here. If you don't like coffee, then substitute, right? So, all those other drinks are soothing hot drinks too, right? It also wakes me up. There's caffeine in coffee. And it's a drug, right? It's good, right? If I'm having kind of a blue day at work, or I'm upset, or something, then, everyone say, go to Starbucks, get your coffee, And after having, a couple of sips of that, dark roast, I'm in a good mood. I'm happy. So there's something about coffee there. So, but what I want to do in the sermon today is go through 2 points. Solo coffee time. So this is where you actually go and spend time in the coffee shop or having just your own coffee time. And also shared coffee time. I want to discuss those 2 points. Solo coffee time allows me to embrace the simplicity of life. And we'll see later that that's actually kind of a role or something we should be striving towards, is simplicity in Christ, right? And a simple life. But it also lets me worship God. How can drinking coffee let me worship God? I got you in suspense, don't I? So solo coffee time, worship God. Shared coffee time is a little bit different. This is where you share with a friend. And Gene Schmalar, and I've got him in the slides here. I didn't ask permission, I just did it. I actually asked him, I said, could I make a coffee sermon? And he goes, I don't think so, there's nothing in there. And then I started discussing, well, our shared time together, there's a lot going on there that's not just coffee, there's spiritual stuff, right? So I wanted to dig into that a little bit, and I actually have some scriptures that we came up with, so you'll see that. Well, coffee in the Bible. Drum roll, please. Is coffee in the Bible? And of course, I've got all this searching capability that can search the Bibles and all the different translations and concordances and everything. So I was actually kind of excited to type in, COFFEE and see where there's coffee in the Bible. Believe it or not, it is, which to my surprise. Here's Job 7. Chapter 7, Job. There's nothing in my life. So here's Job lamenting his life. And then I'll read the scriptures here. Human life is a struggle, isn't it? It's a life sentence of hard labor, like fields field hands longing for quitting time, and working stiffs with nothing to hope but for payday. And drops down to verse 9. When a cloud evaporates, it's all good for none. Those who go to the grave never come back. They don't return to visit their families, and never again will friends drop in for coffee. It's like, wow! And that's actually in the Message translation, coffee, which is incorrect, because we're going to look at the discussion of when coffee came into existence, which is really funny that it's actually in there, because there was no such thing as coffee back then, but it's in there, so I thought I'd read it. Here's another one from Luke 17, 7 through 10. Suppose one of you has a servant who comes in from plowing the field or tending the sheep. Would you take his coat, set the table, and say, "Sit down and eat"? Wouldn't you be more likely to say, "Prepare dinner, change your clothes, and wait the table until I've finished my coffee"? Then go to the kitchen and have your supper. So this is discussing, if someone comes over and, you're supposed to, say, let's eat, let's have fun. Not just, no, I'm having my coffee. You wait while I'm done, right? So obviously that reference to coffee, no, there was no coffee back then, but, the idea of just, waiting on the person who's come to visit you. You're supposed to actually, come out and actually, be hospitable to them, not just drinking your coffee. Here's one that the commentators pull out in Hebrews, and we'll use that. Remember that chapter, book of the Bible there, and we'll come back to that. And let us consider how to stir up one another of love and good works, not neglecting to meet each other as the habit of some, but encourage one another, and all the more. So you sort of see the trend I'm going with here, right? One of the commentators actually pulled out Bible study fellowship accountability groups and times over coffee or tea, don't leave those out, should be encouraged as long as they're doctrinally sound and they don't detach you from the local church. So here's kind of an admonition that a commentator's pulling about coffee. Remember, I typed in COFFEE and I searched everywhere, all the commentaries and Bibles, and this is one of the commentaries pulling out that Bible study and stirring up. And I thought, stirring up, doesn't that sound like coffee, right? All right, so now I have a coffee joke for you. Question, who makes the coffee in the Bible? Who makes the coffee? Hebrews? Yes, the answer, Hebrews. When I first heard this, I thought, wow, I heard it at a wedding actually. I was like, I gotta remember that. Not She-brews, but Hebrews. So there you go, your joke for the Bible. Now I want to spend a little bit of time, like just short 5 minutes, of a history of coffee. Because obviously some of the commentators used it in the scripture, and I thought, well, maybe let's kind of look back here. Well, coffee is a brewed beverage with its distinct aroma, right? And it actually comes from coffea plant, and they actually bake the beans, like the coffee berries or whatever that come from this coffee plant, which is cultivated in over 70 countries in Latin America. Here's a map of them, right? So you can see sort of nowhere where it's cold, right? Coffee likes to be warm, so it's all in this band. And look, the Philippines! I'm gonna come back to that in a second, but they grow coffee in the Philippines, and it's a pretty good coffee. So here's what coffee looks like. It's actually like something you would, like a blueberry or something, or a berry, which you never thought to drink of that or whatever, right? So here's the coffea plant, right, the shrub. And then there's obviously a history. There's lots of stuff on the internet for coffee, but discovered in the 1400s, came to New York in 1668, in France in 1672, in Dutch in 1690. Kind of talks about technology, making it better and timing things. Decaf was invented in 1903. Believe it or not, there was a prohibition in the U.S. in the 1920s for coffee. I was like, wow, that must have been terrible, right? There is espresso, invented in 1946. Starbucks, 1941. Well, of course, we're going to get back to that one. The Grand Latte. And then it goes on saying it's becoming more and more popular, and they're having brew-offs against these different coffee growers, and it's kind of cool. Anyway, so it's got an Ethiopian heritage, and they were the first to recognize the energizing of the plant. So we call it caffeine, which but it's a drug. So they figured out that this was a drug, the Ethiopians. So good for them. Actually in Yemen, in Arabia, or the Arab nations, they were the ones that first actually bake it, brew it, and then actually drink it. And my office mate that I continually talk about, who's from Yemen, so you know, he's got credit for cooking or making coffee in the 15th century. So I'll have to send him a note on Facebook saying, thanks! You know, your ancestors came up with a good thing. Here's a German physician describing, in 1583, can't pronounce his name, Raoulf or something, his quote saying, a beverage as black as ink, useful against, I love it, a doctor talking about useful, against numerous illnesses, particularly those of the stomach. So here, 1500s saying coffee's good. You know, coffee's good, coffee's bad, coffee's good. Well, 1500s, they knew it was good. Its consumers take it in the morning, quite frankly, in a porcelain cup, passed around from each other, and it's composed of water and a fruit from a bush they call bunu. So here's the good effects of coffee. Here's coffee in America, the first coffee that sort of came. And here is actually a good slide, and I love coffee, so this is great for me. Effects of moderate caffeine consumption. And these looks like they're all good. Increased attention, oh that's great. Increased memory and performance, well that's good too. Increased intracircular pressure, I don't know if that's good or bad, but something in your eye. Decreased risk of heart disease, great. Increased physical performance, always good. Increased muscular recovery, that's good also. And increased risk of liver disease. So all these things sound wonderful, like wow, what a great thing to talk about. To end off my discussion of coffee, we have to talk about Tim Hortons. How can we not talk about Tim Hortons? This is a Canadian icon, right? Believe it or not, this is one of the first on the list of actually coffee houses. So in 1964, truly Canadian, in Hamilton, Ontario, Tim Hortons, who's a hockey player, great stuff, and Jim Carrade created what is actually the largest food chain. So it's not just a coffee chain, the largest food chain in Canada, with 3,000 stores. I thought, wow, that's pretty good stuff. And we have some international, not that much. Next comes Starbucks. Ooh, the big Starbucks corporation. It is the largest coffee house in the world, and get this, it's got just over 20,000 stores, so almost 21,000 stores. That's a lot of stores. No wonder you see them everywhere. In 62 countries, and it just lists the countries there, so they're all over the place. And that was started in Seattle. And we were just on a trip in Seattle, and I'll share you a quick 60-second video of that because I thought that would be fun. Second Cup is actually a Canadian. I didn't know that until I researched this. Started in 1975. It is the largest Canadian-based coffee retailer with only 360 stores. Wow, that's a lot less than Starbucks. Started in Mississauga in 1975. Now, the Philippines. I don't know if you knew this, Bambi, if you can see. Yeah, Bo's Coffee. This is from where Evelyn comes from. In 1996, Cebu in the Southern Islands came up with Bo's Coffee. So they actually get the beans from the Philippines, which is a different tasting, nice, delightful bean. And they have 60 branches. And when I was in the Philippines, I was at Bo's all the time, as well as Starbucks. But kind of neat that it's there. So at this point, I wanted to share a quick video. I'll probably have to go 60 seconds of the first Starbucks.